Pray. Father in heaven, we pray you would give the council wisdom and insight. Help us to do good things for the city and lead us aright. We pray your blessing on our city, on our county, our state, and on the United States. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Consent agenda, Jonna.
Approved minutes of this regular meeting of January 20th, 2009, and appropriation ordinance 020309 in the amount of $102,732.80, and appropriation ordinance 123108 in the amount of $264.87, and ordinance number 980 vacating alley. This is to replace 977.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Citizen comments this evening? Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
of course, you know what I'm here to talk about, is the deposit thing. I just wanted to say that, I mean, I'm a little disappointed in the direction that we went with that last couple of meetings, because, I mean, I brought this up to you guys as something that we need to look at to make our city a little bit more friendly for people to move here, make it easier for people to move here, stuff like that. And you guys went the other route. I mean, you went to immediately how much more can we get, instead of are we in line with the communities around us? Are we in line with communities our size? Are we doing something that's going to, you know, help our community grow, or are we doing something that's going to keep people from coming in here? You know, Bob had said, who's going to have a problem with a letter of credit? Newly divorced person, utilities on her husband's name, she's not going to have a letter of credit. Single mother with 2 or 3 kids, chances are she's missed a few payments and had a few late payments, so she's not going to have a letter of credit. So those are the kind of people that we're not wanting to, I mean, we're not allowing to come into our town. Are those the kind of, I mean, it'd be nice if the average moved into town was a rich person and owns their own business, but who's going to be the server out at Bill's Cafe, and who's going to be the cook out there, and who's going to work at Dillon's? You know, the people that work for me don't make that much money either. So there's a lot of people that, I mean, we're just basically saying, we don't want you in our town unless you can afford to give us $300 or $400 up front to move in here, and that's unheard of. I mean, I've been calling all around the state, and I'm sure John has too, and you know, the first comment I hear, to move to St. John, $250? And that's not even, you know, now we're not even at $250 anymore. Now we're talking 4, 3, 5, 8, 9, no payments. The other places that I've called have said, well, do they allow them to make payments? No payment plan was ever discussed. So, I mean, basically it was like you guys took that statute and went, oh, well, how much more can we get? Let's get the maximum we can get out of them. That's not what the council's here for. You know, you guys are elected to guide this city, help this city grow. And yes, we don't want you guys putting the city out of business or doing something stupid that's going to break us, but we got $1.8 million in the bank, so I don't really think we're, you know, hurting that bad on going broke today or tomorrow anyway. And it looks like the city has done pretty well, and there's a lot of families and a lot of businesses here in town that can't say that. You know, so I think it's time that the city backs off a little bit, because you're never going to make your deposit high enough that nobody will ever move out of town and leave you with a bill. I mean, that's just part of being in business. Anybody that goes into business knows right off, I'm going to have uncollectible debts that I'm probably not going to get paid for to one degree or another. That's just part of being in business. I have $6,000 worth of unpaid advertising and bills over there at the newspaper, and it's just something we have to deal with. You know, I can't say, sorry, I'm not going to take your ad unless you pay me $400, because that's a $200 ad. If you decide to run it again next week, then that's $400, so you got to pay me $400 up front. If you decide you're only going to run it one time, come in and I'll give you back that $400, or I'll give you back the other $200. That's just not how it goes. I mean, you know, I'm sorry, but like I say, you guys are the ones that, I go to CHIP and all that, I'm on the board for that, and we're doing everything we can to try to convince people St. John is a good place to come to. But if I'm working at Wichita and thinking I want to move to St. John to become a cook at Bill's Country Kitchen out here, and I call up and I got 4 kids, and Donna has to tell me, well, fine, but that house you're looking at, the utility deposit on that's going to be $490, I'm going to scratch that ad of bills off and go on to the next town. you know, and that's just the kind of stuff we're doing. I mean, you know, I'm sorry, but it just struck me wrong. It seemed really, really cold-hearted. You know, Garner said every utility bill that he's ever dealt with has never had a cap on it before. I'd like to know how many, I wish he was here tonight, because I'd like to ask him how many utility companies he's dealt with. I mean, as far as everybody's telling me, he's lived here all his life, so chances are he hasn't dealt with a lot. I moved out 6 weeks after I graduated high school, and I moved every 3 to 6 years since, and I'm 50 years old. So you can guess how many utility companies I've dealt with. And this, to date, is the highest deposit I've ever hit on a non-gas. My gas deposit, yeah, it was higher. Not here, but in the past. But I mean, except for Phoenix, this is the highest I've ever seen. And I don't mean to sound bad, but St. John hasn't got a whole lot of anything to offer as far as drawing people here. So I think we need to look at affordability. You know, what can we do to make it more affordable to get people to move here? What can we do to entice people to move here? Telling them, I want $400 deposit before I'll even turn your utilities on, and no, you can't make payments on that. And that ain't gonna work. I mean, that ain't gonna entice anybody to come here. So I had a whole book of things I was gonna bring up and all the people I've called and talked to, but I'm not. I'm gonna leave it to you guys. You're the ones we elected. I'm gonna leave it up to your better judgment and your conscience to make a decision that will not only help the city survive, but will also help the city grow. And one other comment, I talked to some other people that get $75 for their deposits, and they said they don't have near as many people moving out and not paying. They do have, Larned, for instance, had $17,000 they recouped on the state. She couldn't tell me exactly how much they'd lost over the last, or how many had been paid over the last 5 years. But I'll be honest with you, if I move into town and you guys tell me I want $300 right now, that's going to stick in my craw until the day I move out of town. And I'm going to say, you know what? They already got $300 of my money. They can chase me for that other $150 to the ends of the earth. Eventually you'll get it, but eventually. You know, where I have a bill right now that's 2 years overdue. The people haven't harassed me about it, haven't turned it to a collection agency, and when I get my income tax, they're the first people I'm paying because they've been good to work with. They were nice about it. The deposit was, I don't actually think I paid a deposit there. But, you know, that's the kind of things people think about, and that might be part of the reason why we have so many outstanding bills. People move here for 6 months, and they move out owing $700, and they go, well, I left them a $250 deposit, they can just chase me for the rest. I mean, you know, because there's a lot of people that work, well, whatever. Like I say, it's you guys' decision.
Thanks, Terry.
Uh-huh.
Is there any more citizen comment? Okay, administration, Jonna?
Yes, along the lines of what Terry was saying there, with the ordinance 979 that we passed last council meeting, before I actually had sent all this over to the paper, but before it had time to be published, I called Terry and asked him not to publish it, because when we had somebody come in to do a deposit, it was quite high, like $600. And we started figuring some things, and I really didn't think that was the intent of the council. So if I'm wrong, you need to let me know, and we'll go ahead and publish it as is. But I thought maybe I needed clarification before that was published, and if that was not your intent, then the public would be upset about where that was going. If it is your intent, then I'll get it in, and it'll be published next week. I did give you guys a handout on some different places here in town where we have families, different sized families, individual rental places with just electricity, and then a home with just a couple in it. So that kind of gives you an idea of where that is. The one person home was under the 250, the rest of them are over the 250.
Well, if we're talking about that without having a motion on the floor, then I guess we can do that. I've had some folks talk to me about it, other than Terry, who was also talking about it. I've had some other people say they thought it was pretty stiff. You know, especially if you can get up to $400 or $500. And I asked them about, well, even if it is that high, if somebody has lived someplace else that has a good credit thing, they wouldn't have to pay it anyway. And they said, yeah, but there are people who just got married, or people who are moving into their first place where they're going to live together, and they didn't even have an electric bill last year. And so they haven't got anywhere they can get credit. And unless they have family in town or something, they don't, you know, sign a thing for them. It's going to be pretty tough to move into your first place. And I wouldn't think we would want to have a young family not be able to come here. And it does look pretty stiff. I think we ought to have the 3-month thing or some minimum. And I don't know how high that should be. What was it before, 200?
250, 200 for electric, 50 for water. Now, I will have to say, in the scenario that Terry gave, or what you were saying, on the 250, to my knowledge, we've never had anybody not be able to go ahead and come because of the 250. You know, and because we didn't take payments. The whole idea of having the deposit is so that, you know, it covers the account. If you take payments on it, then you're trying to get them to pay their bill plus trying to get them to pay their payment on their deposit. So, you know, I would recommend that you have some kind of cap. You know, it has to be at least this, so that it's not, you have to use this,
You can't be more than that.
yeah, it can't be more than the 3-month.
Right.
So you have to use that, but it could be not to exceed.
Yeah, the lesser of 3 months or whatever the cap is that we want to have. And,
But you know, you said, and I'm not, but you said nobody's 250's never been a problem before.
No, I didn't say it wasn't a problem, but somehow they were able to come up with it.
Yeah, because I mean, I've talked to people that said they wouldn't move here if they had to pay $250 deposit. And like I told you in the first meeting, I wouldn't have moved here if I would have realized that before I took the job.
And Terry, I know you called around to a lot of places, and so did I, and I found other people that were as much or more than us. So I don't think we're totally out of line, and I really don't want to argue that point with you, but just so the general public knows that we're not the highest around. Now, if we go this other direction, there may be other cities that do exactly this, but I'm not seeing that on our listserv. They haven't responded. Yes, Bob?
How much some clarification here? The way I understood that, it was the average of 3 months, of any 3 months.
No, it was the average of 12 months, 3 months of the average. So you take the 12-month period, a total of 12 months, divide it by 12,
Right?
and multiply it by 3.
Exactly. But don't you have to divide it, the end result, by 3?
No, and Dawn, you can, you know, that's the question that I had, and you,
No, I'd say, I mean, the
The way
maximum was 3 months. I mean, the way the statute read, it was an average of 3 months.
Average of 3 months.
Yeah, so we
No.
averaged the whole year and then divided by 4.
it's
You'd
not
have
an
to divide
average,
by
it's
12,
not, no,
you know.
that's not
How
how
do
it
you divide it?
says.
Just a minute.
Let me find it in here.
On average of 3 months is, you divide, a year has 12 months. You divide by
Average
4, you get
bills
3
for
and half,
a
3 months.
3-month period. Average bills for a 3-month period.
Yeah, but if you've got 3 months bills, that's $200 a month. The average of that is going to be $200.
That's not what it's
No,
saying.
listen.
Okay, shall pay a cash deposit equal to the expected average bills for a 3-month period. So you average your bills for 12 months,
Right.
and then you
take
can,
3 of them.
they're asking for 3 months worth of bills to be your deposit. I know it's confusing because I called for clarification myself, and Sandy was the same way at the league.
Well, it looks to me like that the average of the 3 months, you should pick 3 months and divide it by 3, and whatever figure, that would be the average of 3 months.
But that's not what it says.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what you guys wanted to go by the statute as it says, and the way it says is 3 months of an average, 3 months.
If you wanted to make it the 1 month average bill, that would be a lot less severe.
I
And
interpret
it probably
that
isn't
differently.
gonna be enough to cover
And
it.
so did I, Bobby. I did too.
That's what you all were probably thinking.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's why I'm thinking that probably we weren't very far out of line with the 250. There's a few households in town that would be too much for. So we would not be in compliance with the statutes at that point. But if you wanted to leave it at the 250, you can have this wording and not to exceed 250. And that way you can keep it at the 250 for those that would be lower. We're in compliance. Dawn is still gonna have to figure it all to make sure that we don't overcharge somebody for their 3 months in that particular premise.
Well, the other thing we could do is to make it 1 month. Take the average of the last year and then have it be the average month and have that be what it is instead of 3 of them. And that would satisfy the state because you can't be more than 3, but you could have 1 month or 2 even. But,
May I suggest that if you do that, I would say at least a month and a half, because a lot of times if somebody moves out of town, if it's in the middle of the billing cycle, you get a half a month bill, and then there's usually another bill that comes in after that, and there's usually going to be 45 days, depends on when they move out, but there can be 45 to 50 days in there that you may not have a balance of. So I guess from a billing cycle standpoint, 2 months would be a whole lot better than.
And the other thing that I will say is if we go that direction, then, you know, the public is gonna have to understand the first day that they don't pay that on their late card, they will be shut off. Because I can't have the leniency of, oh, I'm coming in tomorrow, is that okay? When we don't have the deposit to, you know, within reason. So, I mean, at this point, even though we do, as the ordinance says, there are times that I am lenient with people and try to work with them. If we go to the point of just 1 month, I'm afraid, you know, you guys are gonna be upset with me because I wasn't, you know, shutting people off immediately, because we're not protected here. I don't know.
well, if you look at your sample, I mean, one of them would be over $200, 2 of them would. And the one that had the really low bill of $50, they're not gonna run up too much of a bill in 2 months. But I think I'd just make calculations simpler if we just had an amount or the 3 months, and nobody would ever do the 3 months because the amount we pick would be like a couple hundred. And
I don't have a problem with adding the $250 cap. I mean, if that's where it was, then we weren't having that much trouble. I mean, $50 isn't gonna save that much, I don't think. If they're over $400 on their bill, they leave town $50. I mean, I don't know. Can you add $250 cap to this 979 ordinance?
Yeah,
okay,
we can bring it back next time.
anybody?
Just say not to accept.
Anybody for 200?
Or 75, or 100.
Well, you take that individual one, Jim, and everybody's different.
That's right.
I mean, there's some people that can sit around in layers and layers of clothes and not run their heater. And then you've got some that think it has to be 80 degrees in their house
Door open.
with the door open and a fan running. So, I mean, that is going to be totally different with every individual person living.
No, but I don't know, 200 seems like a significant deposit. And it's not that much more risky than $250. The other thing is that it's about, I don't know, 7 or 8, maybe more people that the ministries help out during the year. And so I'm cautious because I don't want the ministers to get stuck with things either. But they do. And most of the ones that I talk to from churches would rather have a lower one and take a little more risk than they would to have a higher one, because they, especially for a young family, and of course you can't make a special law for young families as opposed to old families, but I just think, you know, people are getting married, or this is the first place they're going to have a home and move out from their parents and everything. We really want to have people like that move here, because, you know, the average age is almost as old as I am, and that's incredible. We need more of you younger people, so.
Yes, Leonard?
Jill, we need to look at for the school too, because if we don't get to bring more kids in for our school, we're just gonna keep going downhill. Because they're gonna have to start letting people go up there if we can't get more families to move in here and get a bigger population of young people going to our school.
They're cutting 2 this year.
Yes, Jerry?
You know, like I said, I keep bringing up Larner because I've dealt with them before, but and they're a bigger city than we are. They got a prison out there, which means they have a more transient population. I would imagine people moving in, taking jobs and leaving, but they're $75. And 75 to 100 is what I've ran into most places I've lived. My hometown of Belleville is higher than that, but they allow you 3 months to pay it. Sterling, I think, was higher than that. And when I leave St. John's, Sterling will be one place I won't be applying to their newspaper for, because it's high. You know, I mean.
But is Larner, I mean, are they apples for apples?
Well,
Water,
sometimes,
sewer, electricity?
did they have connection fees?
No, she said they hadn't. They had talked about dropping their deposit and going to connection fees, but they decided not to.
A lot of cities have gone to
Uh-huh.
connection fees and they make it just as high, but they don't have to pay interest on it or ever pay it back. It just goes into your pocket
Yeah.
and they don't have to worry
Yeah,
about
this
it.
is refundable.
Yeah,
$300 1 year.
Eventually, but we have accounts that still have their money here since, what'd you say, 1990?
because they're not in
Yeah.
good standing.
Yeah, so that's $250 of their money that they have had no use
No,
of for
it's 75,
16.
it was 75
Oh,
then.
okay. But yeah, so I mean, feasibly in the near future, or in 10 years down the road, I could be sitting there with $250 that I've had no use of for 12 years because I was late on my electric bill a couple of times. And like I say, in this economy now, it is really tough for people to make their bills, and yeah, they're gonna be late. You know, it's hard for a family, especially single parents, stuff like that, or you know, being my dog. You know,
I would only be in favor of not raising it, and not lowering it. Leave it the same.
Stay at 250.
I got noticed we have a lot of people living here in town that work at Larner, and
Everything else is going up. I'll be in favor to leave it the same.
and I can see us losing some of those people here as housing becomes available in Larner. They're like, I work in Larner, and I can pay $75 to move there for utilities. It's $250 here.
But to do that, you gotta,
We have to do a new ordinance, so
Yeah.
if you direct her not to do it, we'll just bring the ordinance.
Okay, do we need to amend the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to pass a whole, you need
It's gonna
to
be a whole.
probably have a motion to withdraw that ordinance that way, because
I
it
mean,
is.
withdraw it.
Why don't you have a motion to withdraw
And then-
it and do that?
Bobby, do you have any more comments?
No, I'm still questioning how that's fixed. That's my own personal view.
Well, would you go along with 200 instead of 250?
No, I would go along with the average monthly bill.
Oh, 1 month's bill.
One
See,
month
I think that's a good idea too.
yeah, the whole cities. Yep. That makes sense.
I would suggest that if you do something like that, if you're gonna take a monthly bill, pick the highest bill
in the month.
in the year. Pick the highest month in the year and use that as your top number. Rather than your, because $200, I mean, like this family of four, I mean, you had a $400, $450 bill, $200 is only gonna cover it.
We could at least have her check the average, and bring it to us and see what it looks like.
Now, what kind of average are you talking
Yeah,
about,
what do you,
Kevin?
All the city bills, right? The whole town,
One month.
800 meters or whatever it is.
Okay.
why don't you pick the August or July month and
Doesn't hurt to look.
Yeah.
Which,
And
there's
see
a
what
lot of
they- see what the average
$1,000 bills. You know,
But you're gonna
Okay,
have to weigh
Doug.
apples to apples.
What are you
Yeah,
gonna
I
do
mean,
between
You
now
have
and
commercial
then?
accounts, or are you just talking residential accounts?
What are you gonna do between now and then if someone moves into town?
As
Well,
the ordinance stands, the way.
Okay.
If you withdraw this ordinance, the old ordinance will still be there, so.
yeah, is ordinance 979?
I mean, this one hasn't taken effect because you haven't published it, so.
Right,
If we were gonna take
So
this
you
one.
can move to have this one withdrawn, and then we'll bring the ordinance, so then you'll have time. The old
so
one's
we will
still-
be covered. Okay,
The old one's
Yeah, the
still-
old one still.
Because it hasn't changed because you haven't, this hasn't been published.
okay.
So you need a motion.
Were you gonna change the ordinance for residential and commercial with that 300?
Uh-huh. Well, with the new ordinance was for both, yeah,
Well, I'd average it all.
so average for,
Wouldn't you? Or you want us to do residential?
No, I would average a residential and average business. You can't compare residence against business,
Yeah.
because your electricity and my electricity is astronomical.
I mean, you got billing.
Billing.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
School,
Well,
The co-op and.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that.
residential. Only.
do both.
Let's look at it, see what it looks like.
Yeah,
Okay.
How are you gonna decipher which month you want? Because see, like you have January.
We'll just go to
it's
the
called-
highest billing month for the year. Right.
Yeah, it's
But
gonna take
if you
July or
got
August.
August, air conditioners, you could have, extremely high bill there
That's what-
compared to your gas bill in the winter.
Well,
Yeah, we don't sell gas.
We don't sell
Well,
gas.
that's,
Donna's billing statistics will give us the information we need for this. And I'll bring that to you next time. Okay. But we do need a motion for this.
could I have a motion to withdraw that?
I move we withdraw that ordinance.
979.
979.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, the next thing up on John's administration is the 2009 COLA. I'm assuming that Tom wanted this tabled so we could look at his figures a little better. And so I'm assuming that we should keep it tabled until Tom is available, because he didn't give any comment. And Becky, because neither one of them said anything to Jonna today on the phone saying that they weren't gonna be here.
Becky had let me know that she was
That's
going
a fair decision.
Okay. Okay.
Because we probably make it retroactive to the first of the year.
whatever.
Yeah.
It'd take a long time.
Okay, and then Jonna, help me, you wanna help me in second?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's start with 15 minutes and see if we can do it
Jonna needs an executive session for 15 minutes,
in a minute.
attorney client.
Move.
For council, mayor, myself, and Dawn.
So moved.
Second motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
I'll move for another 15 minutes executive session with council, Jonna, the attorney, and the mayor.
For the same purpose.
For the same client attorney privilege.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
Oil on that sucker. Mel, you got some WD-40? No.
Go take care of that. We have time left?
Minute and a half.
Oh.
You can discuss something, you just can't take any action on
I'm thinking there probably isn't anything left to really discuss.
Topped out, huh?
More than
You got it over here. This way.
Call the council meeting back to order. Jonna, do you have anything else on the agenda?
That's it.
Is there any questions for Jonna this evening? Thank you, Jonna. Administration, Mel.
I don't have anything unless the council has something.
Is there any questions for Mel this evening? Thank you, Mel. Fire Department, Leonard.
Yeah, I want to discuss a little issue that's come up. The Jim Moulton family left a memorial to the St. John Fire Department, and we were discussing it, you know, to see which way it's supposed to go. You know, whether it goes into the city or it goes to the fire department. But all the others, Ernest Waters, gave it to the fire department, Ernest Waters, Merle High, and all them. And the fire department was able to take that money and purchase something for the, you know, fire trucks or something. So I just was wondering, you know, because I hadn't heard any amounts or anything, you know, to see if that was still, you know, we were still able to do
Now,
that.
if you come in the morning, I can give you those amounts of what has come in.
Because I just, you know, I talked to
I
John.
had, yeah, I had Donna look back for me to see how they had done it before and they did it the same way.
Because, I'd like to purchase that road, that, you know, that circular, you know, that saw that we was needing, you know.
We haven't done that yet?
Different one.
The different one.
No, we got the chainsaw, we got that, it's on the truck, everything's labeled, and like I say, I appreciate that.
Okay, so I guess you can come in the morning and Jonna will.
Even Donna, she
I'll be here
takes
at
it.
6 o'clock in the morning, John.
You go ahead, we'll be open.
You'll be waiting until probably about 7 when I get here.
Okay. Is there anything else, Leonard?
If I'm not here, Donna can give you that information.
Unless the council has something,
Okay, is there any questions for Leonard tonight? Thank you, Leonard.
thank you.
Police Department, Sunny.
I don't have anything, Your Honor.
Is there any questions for Sunny this evening? Thank you, Sunny. Legal, Dawn?
I brought up about several months ago about the disagreement between the city of Alma, Kansas and Westar Energies. There was another meeting Thursday in Emporia that will discuss the Westar contract that they're offering, but it's mainly going to be the cities that are involved in that contested litigation. So I think I'm going to pop up to Emporia and listen in to see what they're doing. Because our contract comes up a year from June, so we need to start thinking about Stafford. I think right now their Westar Midwest Energy has reoffered the same arrangement that they have, and the contract is from Westar has not even been approved by KCC or by the SPP or AM, so it's still in limbo. So I think they looked at their numbers compared to the Kansas Power Pool, and they were fairly, actually they weren't that far out of whack from what Midwest Energy offered them compared to the other things that were out there at the time. So I think they're going to be leaning toward another one-year extension with Midwest Energy. That'll put us on the same cycle as them, so we might be able to be helpful. The reason I bring that up is because a lot of times, like Midwest Energy is requiring cities to buy energy in the 1 meg increments. So you either buy 1 meg base block, or you buy a 2 meg base block, or you buy a 3 meg base block. One is about, for Stafford, one is not quite enough, 2 is way too much. And it'd be nice for them, really ideally for them, 1.5 meg base load would be ideal. And I think if you look at St. John's load, we're gonna be very similar to that. Our base load is gonna be typically, if we run like we do in the winter, probably 1.5 meg load would be probably a good base to buy. Well, we can't, I mean, between the two, I think we can work a deal with Midwest Energy to split that 1/3 meg for base load. But, and so it'd be nice to be on the same cycle, and we can do a paper swap on billing back and forth. I mean, it can be a paper transaction, but the energy will still be there.
So we can each buy half.
We can each buy 1/2 meg that we might need. So I think from the long point of view, it's probably gonna be better to get on the same cycle as them, and we can negotiate in pairs as opposed to trying to cut this on our own. So we're okay for this year, but next year we are gonna have to we're gonna start looking at it probably in the fall. So
Well,
that's kind of what we're thinking right now with Greg. So we've been kind of working on this for staffing for a couple of months. But
Will Greg be there at employee then too?
will we be locked into a base load for the whole length of the contract?
that is one of the things we need to talk about at the time.
Okay.
I think we need, from what most of the cities are doing, or they're trying to do, is get a long-term base load. And I don't have a problem signing a 20-year deal on something like that, because you know you're gonna need the energy. It's that increment from your base load to your peak. That's the expensive part of it. And it usually comes in the 3 months out of the summer. And so you're gonna probably buy that, on market price. So, but you average the two down, and that's where you get your average cost for the kilowatt hour. But we definitely want to have some kind of a base load, and if we decide to do wind as part of that or whatever, then we need to calculate that in there. So
Yeah.
if we are doing some wind stuff or whatever, that needs to be probably pursued within the next 9 months or so we can kind of get that figured in when we start negotiating with Midwest Energy.
Well, and if we get lucky and we get some sort of businesses here that use electricity, we might need a larger base.
Well,
If we
you
don't,
can always
we
buy
might need
more
some.
base load, you can always buy more, but you don't want to buy too much, because then your bill goes too far the other way. You're paying for a lot of energy you're not using, and it's just like throwing money down the drain. So you want to calculate your base load that's going to just about cover exactly what you're going to need in the low
All right,
months.
and if you need more, then you can up it,
You can always buy more.
but if you need less, you can't.
If you sign along, the cheapest thing to do is to buy a long-term base load agreement from somebody, whether it's Westar. It's gonna make more sense, if we can get it worked out, it's gonna make more sense to buy it directly from Westar than it is to buy it from Midwest Energy, where they mark it up, and they turn around and buy it from Westar or from somebody else. So if we can get in the negotiations and buy a base load from a supplier, that actually produces it, then what they are Midwest or Westar is offering some other things beside that 20-year deal. They just started coming out with a couple of other scenarios, so they are starting to see that not everybody's just going to bite off on their 20-year deal and let it rise. They have backed off, and I think what I told you earlier, they had that 7% ratchet in there for every year. Well, they backed that off to now about 3%. So it's not, they had figured in those figures, they had the 7%, they were projecting the new coal plant being online but after all the scuttle with the state, they took that out, so that lowered their, but what they are proposing is a mix of one of their coal-fired plants and one of their gas turbine plants. So you mix the value of those together, and that becomes their base load piece. So they've got some new formulas that are coming up, which hopefully will be more advantageous, but they're going to get us no matter how we do it.
Well, I'm just thinking about all of the major changes that may occur in the landscape of different kinds of energy things. And
Probably the biggest piece that might change this year is if the price of natural gas stays down during the summer, we might have at least a flat year. I mean, I don't think we're gonna see the increases we did last year. But who knows what natural gas will be doing in 6 months.
Well, I'm concerned that you won't have governments telling you you have to get 20% energy from different things that don't exist now. And it's hard to say what it's gonna be in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Of course, I guess if the state changes the law, then that would affect your contract.
Well, I mean, I know one of the things that they've got in front of them is to change the net metering law for like wind farms. I mean, that will make a significant effect on wind farms and particularly people that want to put in their own wind generation in the country. I mean, because that will have a definite effect on how they get compensated back rather than just a fractional amount that they get now. I mean, they can get back what they would be putting into it. So. And I think that's one of the things on the table in the legislature.
I think the wind is going to be feasible in time, but I think right now it's a little early.
It's a little,
My
yeah,
personal opinion.
it's been, yeah, and you got natural, I mean, it's tough to put in wind energy when you got natural gas down here at $3 or $4 or $5
That's right.
MCF. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But when it's up for $15,
Then
I mean,
it's pretty good.
it looks pretty good. So,
I think we're just a little early.
And I think solar is becoming more attractive.
yeah, but it's still pretty high.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it
But-
still
but
comes
you-
in, it still comes in at 9 or 10 cents a kilowatt
you
hour.
get the most of it when you're using the most energy, where wind, you don't necessarily get the most of it in the summer or whatever. You would solar energy.
I think solar and wind's just pretty much the same.
Yeah,
That's where I'm gathering
yeah, they're,
They don't have to go up 300 feet for solar.
but you can't have that many clouds.
Well, we don't have.
If you look at the chart for solar energy
uh,
for Kansas, it's marginal. The only county that is in the high rate area for solar energy in the state of Kansas is Morton County in the very southeast corner. I mean, the maps show all the southwest course, New Mexico and Oklahoma and Arizona and Southern California. Those are all prime solar states. But you get the further north you get, the feasibility becomes lower.
Yeah, but again, solar isn't gonna get more expensive,
No.
and the other stuff may.
Any more questions for Don this evening? Thank you, Don. Is there any new business? Is there any old business? Yes, Jim.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.